Hi everyone, thanks Amanda, and so glad everyone is here. I put the link to the slides in the chat. I'll post them again and I'll post them again a couple more times during the session. I'm also on Twitter. It's just my full name at Peggy Symingson, so feel free to tag me. Also, you can email me at peggys@uta.edu. I'm a former K-12 teacher, so if you're a K-12 teacher, just put that in the chat, or if you're a teacher educator, let us know too. That's my background. I teach literacy education. We have an online master's degree. And when COVID hit, it was easy for us to teach, but I realized quickly people and families all over the globe were definitely in need of resources. So I really want to focus in this session on curating quality resources, as the title suggests, but really there's a heavy focus too on COVID. And so think of this too as more of a niche topic, but also a general topic about access to digital texts. I'm also on social media, so if you're on the slides, you can follow me there. I also have a pretty robust YouTube channel. So again, I'm not going to read this, but really it's about access to text, and this became much more prominent during the COVID pandemic. By the way, I'm also monitoring the chat, and so I will look for your questions and I can kind of touch on those along the way. So again, we wanted to keep learning going during the pandemic. Some students didn't even have access to internet. So having to think of both low-tech and high-tech ways to get books in the hands of students was really, really crucial. And so in this session, we'll talk about general curation and creation, and then focus specifically on books about that deal with COVID. Both academic informational text, but also the social emotional learning that is needed right now through reading. So my passion is with literacy, and I really want us to kind of brainstorm together. So as you think of resources, please post those in the chat for others to see. Also, one of the links I posted was a blog post, kind of if you have delayed thoughts or want to share these slides, I embedded them in my blog, which is Virtual Gadfly. And so you can leave comments there as well. So again, we're thinking about open access e-text. So let's pause here just for like 1 minute. And you don't have to type unless you want to, but pick one of these, and you can just pick Q1 or Q2 and a brief response. So Q1 is, what are digital ebooks you have found useful? They can be open licensed or not. And then Q2, what are indicators of quality? We don't want to point our students towards texts that are difficult to read, or low quality, or worse, not accurate in terms of information. So Q1 or Q2, go ahead and put your thoughts there, or just reflect on your own, that kind of thing. So we'll give people about 1 minute. This is a brief session. So Q1, read theory, is used by ESL teachers at my CC. Post my contact info. Yes. It's just peggys@uta.edu, and I am on Twitter. peggys@uta.edu. And then Q1, Epic Books, and that's a mobile app, I believe, has been an important resource for authentic ebooks. So Jennifer, are those totally free? I've heard of it. Epic, great, excellent. And my whole point is, yes, mobile compatible and mobile responsive texts are really crucial right now, as some people only have mobile devices to read from. Free for educators and students during class hours. Excellent. Okay, thank you. That's a good example of a resource. Okay, so again, access, and feel free to continue typing. I'm going to move forward. Access is key. Students need access to e-texts. Digital and free texts are especially useful during COVID, and quality of text is also important. And I'm going to touch on Unite for Literacy as well. So you read my mind. Quality, again, not only access, but having good quality text. And so we'll talk about those characteristics. And then we just need more text, specifically to help fight the coronavirus. So information is power, and accurate information, as we've been learning, scientifically based information is really important. And then again, the social emotional learning. So let's get a bit more niche. So health literacy texts are really crucial right now, and having access to those and in different languages is really important. And so health became this central focus, and it still is. I don't mean to say this is past tense, right? We saw various hashtag campaigns, stay home, keep learning, keep teaching around the globe. We're getting locked down. And we need more information about COVID in particular, and staying healthy and that kind of thing. So this really helps students, as we know, as educators and teacher educators. There's an immediate need to talk about health. We need more digital text, as we've been talking about, and then informational text is really crucial. Any thoughts on that? Okay, so let's talk just in general about digital text and quality, and please add in the chat what you think about these ideas. So open licensing is really crucial. In my own searching online for digital text, most are locked down, or they're usually for a fee but free now. Like Audible is usually for a fee, but it's free at the moment, and that kind of thing. So we need more licensing and Creative Commons that can help. Multilingual features, so being able to, like uniteforliteracy.com, you can flip back and forth between languages and it translates. Large enough font, visibility and readability, quality pictures. So not all text has quality pictures for younger readers. They expect that, don't they? And then consideration of mobile compatibility. Who reads on their phone? So someone mentioned Epic. So mobile compatibility should really be a high priority right now. Whoops, sorry. Accessibility. Can we make this an audiobook for visually impaired students? Can we make the font large? That kind of thing. So that goes back to responsive text. Is it engaging? Nonfiction? Anything else? Deb says, unfortunately, this is all happening at a time when many school districts have eliminated health education. Yes, that's a good point, don't you? So then the classroom teacher becomes that health teacher. Doesn't it feel like? So integrating these types of text, accessible text, into our teaching is really crucial. Okay, so let's get into what they are. So again, we know of a lot. Free ebooks, Open Culture is a good website that curates these. And so all of these are hyperlinked in my slides. I'll post them again. We know that there are some K-12 OER textbooks, and increasingly over time, public domain texts. Those tend to be old, right? Like Aesop's Fables and Shakespeare, and the fonts don't tend to be very large or readable. Public library resources, of course, has always, they've always been on board with free and accessible digital books. Need a library card though, and then temporary free books from publishers. So everyone should know about Unite for Literacy. So let me see if I can share my screen real quick. So these are really low level, meaning what, pre-K, K, first grade, or I used to teach ESL elementary. They could work for them. And so they have some COVID books. And so beginning readers on multilingual. So really good features for that. So if you haven't checked out Unite for Literacy, it's really good. And they do have a COVID book for young readers. These are not openly licensed, but my suggestion is that these could be models for creating your own text. And we do need to start creating our own texts in general, OER for K-12 and specific to COVID. So let's get even more, a little more focused on what's out there for health-focused digital open text. So just type yes in the chat if you've been looking for books that touch on COVID. And it can be a hard topic to read about. I even sometimes get a little weepy when I read these books because it's a bit overwhelming. But they can really inform students. And there's increasingly a lot out there. When I first started looking around online for free text, there were just a few, and now there's a lot. And so let's look at the openly licensed ones. And I'm not going to spend too much time on this so we can have time for Q&A. These are from the American Psychological Association. So again, that social emotional learning, I'll put the link in the chat so you can browse those. But just a kid's guide is 3 through 8, ages 3 through 8. And then the second book is more upper grades. So they're developmentally appropriate for those students. And these right here are open licensed books. So I Love You, not being able to visit older relatives has been really tough for a lot of us, upset people. With holidays coming up, it's going to be more challenging. And then The Virus Stopping Champions, more of a narrative fiction. So you can access those on the slides. The United Nations has developed a really good one that's multilingual. And as you know, the Sustainable Development Goals, there's 17 of them. These two came to my mind as really tying in with this whole idea that we need more books because COVID is a whole of society, or what they call whole of the world issue. We're all in it together. And so these types of books really from the UN really focus on that. We're all in this together. And so here's that example. And link is in the chat if you just want to look at that on your own. They're all linked in the slides. Has anyone read this? Type yes if you have. So this book is, again, a narrative story, but it has some information in it about COVID. So it's almost multi-genre. And if you go to the website, I believe this is the one where they need help translating it. So it is, there are, let's see, this may be the wrong screen. Oh, here it is, more languages. So they've got a lot of translations here. So of course it's the UN. And so they also need help translating it to other languages. So they have kind of directions here on how you can do that. So I thought that was pretty neat. And then again, some authors have taken it upon themselves to develop and post freely their own books. And so Coronavirus, a book for children, Share Alike license. And so on the author's blog, this is a poem. And remember I said some of these are little tear jerkers. This is the house we sheltered in, you know, like this is the house that Jack built. And so that's there, and some more resources, and and then even some lesson plans for that. So I thought that was really interesting, a really interesting one. And then just some more COVID books. I think I misspelled that. Oh, no, I didn't. You know, again, the social emotional learning types of OER books that we can find and maybe remix or write our own. Or children can write their own as a writing task. So reading, writing connections. And then there are a ton of free ones, but it's very unclear on the Creative Commons licensing. So not remixing, but just reading or using as a model for mentor text for writing. So just some different examples here. St. Jude coloring book. I think coloring books are text. And then, you know, there's a lot of libraries have started curating resources for free ebooks about coronavirus. Let's pause here. What resources have you found, or have you found any of these? We've talked about a few. So I encourage you to look into these and share them just for informational and narrative texts. Any thoughts so far? So far. Okay. So here's some teaching ideas. So those are just some examples. Are many geared for high school students? Yes. And so I believe the New York, this one, that's a great question. Actually, a lot of these are picture books. The New York County Library, you're right, these are mostly picture books, but I would look for some more informational texts among some of these. So you might just have to explore them. And so that's where I was saying, you know, we almost need to write some of these because, like you said, they're for certain age ranges. So Yeah, I'm not sure if there are a lot for high school students, but for high school students, you might find some infographics like on the CDC website and that kind of thing. High school students enjoy stories too, not just nonfiction. Or you could have them read with siblings. I know there's a lot of families learning together. Just off the top of my head, but if anyone else has high school ideas, you might also look into multimedia like videos and podcasts for the older kids right now. Okay, so how do you teach with these? Let me just look at the chat for a second before we go into that. Working through websites is a great way to get them into different types of text. Exactly, yeah, definitely. It would be a cool project to have them write something. I really like the idea of writing, and so kind of to the ideas for older students or pre-service teachers, you know, using these COVID-focused texts for inspiration, and then maybe writing their own narrative or informational text or multi-genre text, and then creating health literacy texts, either remixing or just being inspired from some of the books, and then promoting free texts with students. So just maybe compiling some on a website and then sharing those in your newsletters for families to read together. Nicole says, oh yeah, and then Jennifer says, great idea, Nicole. I was even thinking having grad students work on books like this as a part of coursework. Yes, exactly. I don't have a lot of resources on writing books other than, you know, the usual kind of digital storytelling. So if any of y'all have ideas for tools, please post those in the chat. So again, content creation, so curation of literacy content, stay-at-home campaign, or creating videos or podcasts, or creating books. So the second one is just reading the stories together, virtual storybook reading. That can be more of a family literacy kind of thing, or content creation, create, you know, books, videos, or podcasts. Nicole, what did you use to make your magazine? I'd love to hear about
I actually used Canva to set it up so that we did it all virtually because we were in lockdown a little bit earlier in the Middle East. And so we did it kind of writer's workshop style and then did that just like an ebook. For
like collaborative writing. That's great. I love it. Google Docs comes to mind too as a simple, or I was going to say Google Slides. So yeah, just creating digital storybooks. And I just put one up here. You know, it can be just simple storytelling or more COVID focused, but honestly, like photo essay types of stories are really good ones to create. I have found like everybody takes a million photos. I mean, pretty much. And so generating a story from some, you know, age appropriate photos, like this one is like a bird, you know, landed in my yard or whatever. So if you're all stuck at home bored, you know, write a story, that kind of thing. So I always encourage my pre-service teachers in my writing class to write photo essays because it's like really low hanging fruit for writing. Like we all have pictures, let's write about it. Make a book. So yeah, Google Slides, InDesign is like way advanced. I love the Canva idea. I think that's great. It's, you know, visual, etc. And that kind of thing. But we have like 4 minutes. So does anyone have any thoughts on digital ebooks and more generally, or so reading ebooks or writing ebooks right now? So just kind of open forum, or do you have a goal that you want to work on with ebooks with either your K-12 students, or if you're, let me look at people's backgrounds again. So we have a 3rd grade teacher, former K-12, former language arts, teacher prep, teacher ed. Any thoughts on how you might engage your pre-service teachers with this? Content creation. Book creator is a tool. Okay, thank you. Do you want to turn your microphone on to share for a minute? Oh, Pressbooks. Yeah, we use Pressbooks at UT Arlington. Wilhelmina says, I want to know more about what is available, and especially sites that young kids, early readers or illiterate can use themselves. So I would say start with the libraries, because they have the most curated content as far as free ebooks and also audiobooks that students can listen to, and Overdrive. So I definitely think starting with your public libraries is the best place to find free and digital ebooks. The quality really varies for K-12 outside of that. For very young, does anyone have thoughts on very young children? And then Jennifer says Adobe Spark for content creation. I agree. That's another good one. That is it for my presentation. Jennifer also says, look at apps where they can drag and drop pictures to create books. Nicole says Storybird might work for the very young ones, more for younger students. And then Sunny says, if you know basic PowerPoint, Adobe Spark is easy to use. Okay, that's encouraging. I've used Adobe Spark and Canva mainly for creating infographics. Any other thoughts? Yes, please do share the slides, and let me see, let me grab the slide deck, or if you want to post to the blog, you can. I put those in SlideShare. Nicole says Traveling Tales is a fun program. And Nicole says they use Adobe Spark to co-create a story with classes around the world. Oh, that's great. That's excellent. True global collaboration. Well, thanks everyone. Really appreciate you joining this session. And thanks to our captioner and Amanda.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.
Okay.